Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm Tanya, a doctor, lawyer turned homeschool mom of 3 kids ages 9, 6, and 4. If you're interested in videos about secular homeschooling, raising a child with ADHD, and living a more essentialist lifestyle in general, you've come to the right place, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. In today's video, I'm collaborating with my good friend Danielle over at formerly Danielle Gets It Done, but she has now changed her channel name to TakeCareMama, which I think is great because she very much focuses on not only the emotional and physical health of her child who has ADHD, but also of herself and her own mama heart, which I am definitely a fan of. So be sure at the end of this video to check out my friend Danielle's video on this topic at TakeCareMama. Today we'll both be talking about meltdowns again. Now if you haven't seen my first video on meltdowns, I will link it down in the description box below. So be sure to check it out because I sort of walk through my experience with meltdowns, how I feel the best way to address them is, etc. In this video, I didn't want to just reiterate everything I had said previously, so I thought I would talk to you in a more informal way about some of the things that I believe about meltdowns, some of the things that I have failed in when it comes to dealing with meltdowns, and some of the tips that I find to be the most helpful. Because in all honesty, when our children are melting down, I feel that our focus, instead of being on adjusting their behavior, adjusting how they react to situations, our real focus should be on us and how we react to their meltdowns, how we can bring them back into a place of safety. Be sure to check out my first video, however, because I do think it sets up for our discussion that we're about to have here. With respect to meltdowns in our children who have ADHD, I think the thing to remember is that ADHD is a neurobiological developmental disorder, right? There is something going on in their brains where their brains are not maturing at the same rate as other children of their chronological age. So when you look at your 5-year-old or your 7-year-old or your 8-year-old, you cannot expect them to behave in the way of a neurotypical child who is their age. And I think everything needs to start there with our children. You cannot expect your 9-year-old to react to a disappointment or a delay or a frustration in the same way that a neurotypical 9-year-old would react. It's probably better to expect an emotional reaction of a child who is 3 to 4 to 5 years younger than them. So if you have a 9-year-old, for example, who's acting out and tantruming in a way that makes you want to say, act your age, that is an unfair thing to say to that child. And I do not say that with any kind of censure because I myself have said it to my son. I have said it far more times than I want to admit. And it's just a human reaction, right? We as parents are also human beings in this situation, which is why I think the more we can practice and consciously engage our thinking brain in how to respond in a compassionate and intelligent way, the better we can help our kids through this process as their brains mature and catch up to their chronological age. Because I cannot look at my 9-year-old son and expect him to act like a neurotypical 9-year-old. I need to look at him in his moment of distress and expect the behavior of a 6-year-old from him and respond to him with that type of compassion. So that's first, right? Look at your child and see their emotional age in this moment and not their chronological age. The second step for us as parents is to respond with 3 questions in mind. And these are from a book by Dan Siegel, who wrote The Whole Brain Child. And I believe this is either from that book or the other book he wrote on no drama discipline. But basically he talks about asking the questions why, what, and how. The why is basically, why is my child melting down this way right now? Why is this their reaction? Literally, why? Why are they melting down? Is it because their shoes feel too tight? Is it because they're really disappointed that they were about to have a play date and they couldn't have a play date? Is it because they couldn't have the dessert that they wanted? Is it because their sister got to choose the movie for the night? You need to figure out that initial why before you go to a place of reaction and just punishing them for their loud behavior, their inappropriate behavior, their embarrassing behavior, whatever it may be. So why? Ask the question why. And if you don't know why, engage the child in conversation. Get down to their level and figure it out with compassion. Give them a safe space so that they can talk to you. And at the beginning, this might not be easy for you because you may have reacted with anger in the past several times. You may have acted with frustration in an attempt to shut down their emotions several times. But the more you and the child practice this safety, this compassionate response, the easier it will be for your child to share with you why they're actually feeling this way. 2, the question is what? What lesson do I want to teach my child, and what can I do to gather them out of this moment and to bring them to a safer emotional space? What actually is my purpose here? Because I guarantee you, if you start asking yourself that question, the answer to that question will never be, I'm going to scream at them, I'm going to ask them to quiet down, I'm going to ask them to shut down all external noise and crying and tantrumingness. Because the what is a really important question. What will be the best thing for me to calm them down, to bring them to safety internally? What is the best thing? Shouting in their face probably isn't the best thing. Screaming at them to act their age isn't the best thing. Taking them out of the space in a violent way isn't the best thing. Sending them to a corner by themselves to feel even more isolated and alone and abnormal probably isn't the best thing. So ask yourself that question. What is the lesson we're trying to get to here? What is the ultimate destination that I want to go to here with this child? I have a child who doesn't have ADHD, who has much more sensory processing type of disorders. For her, it really helps to get down to her level, a safe distance away from her, not too close, not crowding her, and to just narrate what I'm seeing. You're kicking and screaming. You seem to be really upset. Are you upset right now? Give them a little bit of respect. They can tell you how they feel. You might be wrong. You might say, it seems like you're upset with your sister. It seems like you're upset with me. Are you upset with me? And sometimes they say no, and sometimes they'll say yes, and they'll explain. You can say, I would like to help you. I don't know how to help you the best. Can you tell me what I can do to help you? And if they scream and holler and say no, you can sit there and say, I am here for you still. When you can figure out how I can help you best, I'll be here for you. And if they're still carrying on, you can offer suggestions. Would you like me to pat your back? Would you like me to hug you? Would you like me to get you a drink of water? Would you like to come outside with me? Would you like to go on a walk with me? Would you like something? And if they keep carrying on, you can still say, I am still going to be here for you. I will be here. Sometimes, though, a child might like their own privacy in that moment. Would you like me to leave? Sometimes they'll holler yes, sometimes they'll holler no. If they ask me to leave, I generally will leave and try to stay close so that if they want me back right away, I can come back. Because I think a lot of the books and parenting experts talk about meltdowns like there's these 3 things you're going to do and the meltdown is going to stop and everything's going to be hunky-dory and you will be connected and everything will be like kumbaya. And that's just not the case, right? We as parents have been in situations where we're actually in the right frame of mind. We're asking these questions gently. We're trying to offer comfort. We're trying to do all of those right things. And the meltdown just isn't stopping. In that storm, I think the most important message we can give our children is that I love you always, despite the noise and the clamor and the tumult of your emotions. I love you always, not only when you're pleasant to be around. I love you always. There's a saying that I say to my kids, which is feelings and fights are the weather and love is the sky. Stormy days will come, sunny days will come, snowy days will come. It'll rain for weeks on end, but love is the sky. The constant that surrounds us in this family is love. That is always there. And a different variety of emotions and fights and things can swarm over the sky, and for days on end. But the sky, the love is big enough to hold them all. And when we tell our children, if you're going to behave this way, I'm going to put you outside, or I'm going to put you in your room, or I don't want you around us, I think that really does communicate this idea that I only love you when you're being really funny and nice and kind. And I think that can be damaging over time because it gives children this idea that there's a right way to be if you want to be loved. And I don't think that's true. I do think that it's important to keep your other children safe. I think it's important to tell children, you're not in the right frame of mind right now to play with us, you're disrupting the game. Like let's say a child throws a tantrum in the middle of a board game. I'm going to walk with you to your room. I'll sit with you for a while, until you calm down. I think it's important to convey the idea that there is a right time and place to behave in a certain way, but to also be with them in their emotional storm if they want you there. And I think the more we practice that as parents, the easier it will become for both us and the child to genuinely feel that love in those difficult meltdown moments. Because the biggest problem I have with a lot of the parenting books and the videos and the helpful hints, blog articles, is just this idea that there is a beginning and an end to a tantrum. And often there isn't a clear beginning and an end. Often the stimulus is unknown to us, which is why it's important to ask the why, so we can gather that information over time and try to minimize that in the future. I also think that it's important to ask the what. What lesson do I want to teach? What outcome do I want from this? And that allows you to guard your own tongue and to guard how you actually feel towards this child in the moment, because they are your small person. They are your most precious person, right? So in the moment, we've all been in those situations where we say the hurtful things, we call names, we do ugly things because we do the ugliest things to the people we love the best. I think we can all be honest about that. And in the moment, the more we can practice sitting in the storm with them. I love you always, even in this moment, even in this unpleasantness. I love you. You are safe. You are held. I will always love you, regardless, I think is the most important lesson we can convey to them. That I have the patience and the strength and the calm to sit with you in your worst moments, not only at your best moments. That I am your calm. You are my wild. It's that thing that I have on my phone. You are my wild. I am your calm. The more we can practice that, the more natural it will become. I am definitely on a journey with this myself, you guys. But I'm telling you, the more you can connect with your child, the less all of these other tips and tricks will matter. If you can come back to that question, why are they actually upset? What am I actually trying to teach here? What do I want to gain from this interaction with them? Where do I want to take their little heart and mind? That will center you. That will help you calm down in the moment. Because human beings have these things called mirror neurons. And when we see stress, we see a stressed out little mammal in front of us, our own neurons respond in that way. Our brain is keyed to respond in a team-like fashion to sense danger. Oh, our little person senses danger. We too will go into danger mode, and our amygdala will fire up and we will just lose control. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, you guys, someone knocked on my door, and so I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I had just finished talking about the first two questions that Dan Siegel presents when you're confronted with a child's behavioral issue or meltdown, and it's the why is this happening and what do I actually want to teach? What do I want the lesson to be here? And the third question would be how? How can I best convey this to the child? And that will really depend on your child. Different children will have different preferences. Some of them will want closeness and hugging and touching. Others, like my daughter, for example, will want a little bit of distance, a little bit of respect, that she will want to be the one to come over and hug. And I think that's something you have to feel out with your child. There is no real one right way. However, there is a cycle that Dan Siegel talks about in his book for how best to make the child receptive to the lesson that we're trying to teach, to the place we're trying to get them to emotionally. So that cycle is basically 4 points. The first is to communicate comfort. The second is to validate their feelings. The third is to actually listen when they try to talk to you. And the fourth is to reflect back to them what you understand their feelings to be. This cycle is very similar to the RIE cycle that is talked about a lot by RIE parenting strategists and experts, and I have found great success with it. So basically what you do is first you establish that you are there for them, that this is going to be a comforting interaction. This is not going to be a shaming interaction or a yelling interaction or one where you fly off the handle. And then you establish that rapport by validating their feelings. You try to let them know, I see that this is happening. I see that you're kicking your feet. Are you upset? You kind of question them. You pull out whether or not you are correct about your assessment of the situation. And then you listen when they try to talk to you. You listen, you validate their feelings. You say, I understand that you must be upset about this. I understand how this can be upsetting, etc. And then you reflect back to them exactly what they have said. So instead of saying something like, I understand why you're so mad, and then moving right along to the lesson, you can say, I understand why you're mad that your sister knocked over your tower of bricks. You worked really hard on that tower of bricks, and it must be really disappointing to see that work, gone for nothing. You actually reflect back to them with more mature language than they might have why they're feeling the emotions they feel, because sometimes as a child, you're not sure as a kid why you're feeling that way. You don't know why you hit your sister. You don't know why you want to pull your hair out. You don't know why you're kicking and screaming on the floor. And so giving the child a little bit of help there, validating their feelings, but giving them that emotional language can be really, really helpful. I'm not going to belabor this point. I really think you guys should check out my first video because I go into more detail about random things that go on with meltdowns. But I will say that I run into the most problems with dealing with meltdowns when I allow myself to react in a similar fashion to my child. When I allow my child's stress and meltdown and noise and loudness and just the explosion of feelings to be mirrored in myself. That's when the situation goes awry. When I can slow myself down enough to distance myself a little bit and to ask myself those 3 W questions, why are they melting down? What is it that I want the result to be of this interaction? What is my goal here? And how can I best achieve that goal using that little cycle of communicating comfort, of listening to their feelings, of reflecting their feelings back, validating. Those little key points really help center me in my approach. And the more we practice it, the better we get. The more we practice it, the safer they feel. So much about addressing our children's meltdowns is about addressing our own reactivity to them. And that would be my advice to you, is to really work on yourself first in your child's meltdown moments instead of working on them. Really try to be the calm in the storm and communicate that comfort that you want to be with your child, not only in their pleasant, happy-go-lucky moments, but also in their worst moments. You are their lighthouse in the storm. You are the safe point. You are that light in the harbor. You will always be there. And that's basically all I have to say on the topic for today, you guys. I really hope that this video has been helpful. Don't forget to check out my friend Danielle's video over at TakeCareMama, her new channel. And I wish you guys the very best day with your kids.